Hey everyone, if I told you had a story to be heard, would you tell it? Better yet, if you knew your story would help someone else, would you share it? Hi, I'm Christine Hotchkiss, and just like our fingerprints, I believe our stories are unique and put us on the path in which we're on. Would you agree, Wendy?
Oh, absolutely.
I think everyone has something they can share, no matter where you're at, actually. Today, my guest is Wendy
Esquibel.
Esquibel. I'm so bad with last names, so we're just going to call you Wendy.
Okay, fair
Thanks
enough.
for your time, Wendy.
Of course.
We're on her farm. So we have this beautiful animals they don't eat, so no one's going to eat any hair, nothing like that. And we're outside, so we're doing it first outside where it's overcasted and it's humid, but it's a beautiful day. She has a beautiful home, and she is our topic of foster care, but they're not foster kids anymore. She
Nope.
adopted all of them. And then when I say all of them, how many are there?
There are 13 total.
13, a Brady Bunch, and then some. Okay, so where did you get the idea to foster?
You're never going to believe this, Russia.
Were you in Russia?
No, I was actually at a 4th of July party, very much in the United States.
Okay.
Met an acquaintance, and she was doing camps to bring older institutionalized kids from the Eastern Bloc and try to get them adopted by American families.
Okay.
And I said yes.
You said yes.
I changed everything.
Wow. How I better go to some of these places so I can say yes too and make a difference in the world for all these children. Anything else I can do. So you have 10 that were adopted, but they were fostered. Then you adopted them.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So what are the ages?
The oldest one, biological child, is 33,
Oh.
and then 30, and then 22 are biological children, and then our adopted children are 26, 20, 16, 15, 12, 12, 9, 8, and 8.
Okay, so now here's the best part. Give me their names because they have.
Okay, so it's Ashley, Amber, Noah, Eli, Joshua, Jessica, J, Jackson, Mariana, Victor, Noah, Nicole.
Now, wow. Bingo. And now you had 2 other children that had passed away.
We do. We lost our foster son, Jose. He was never adopted. He was our foster kiddo. We lost him 13 years ago. And our daughter, Emma, passed away this August. So she's just been gone 6 months.
It goes so fast. And you have a
Yeah.
beautiful, you showed me her mural, and children are so precious. I love children. You have a nonprofit, Jose's Closet.
Right.
Named after Jose?
Named after Jose, and Emma's is Emma's Eats. So we're doing a food bank for Emma.
Oh, I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay, you do such
So,
great work.
yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Jose's Closet.
So in Jose's honor, and I kid you not when I say that his dying wish, 13 hours before he died, he just said he was 10, and he said, it just, nobody's going to remember. It's not going to matter. Oh. And here was this little guy who had big thoughts and really felt like he never had children, never went to school, never had a job because he was 10, but really thought about those things we all think about leaving something, leaving an impression, and promised me that I would, and left that with me, that responsibility to celebrate his life, but also honor his memory.
Absolutely,
And that's
agree
what I've done.
with you. You and I share that common loss of my daughter, Nicole Marie. I also have a nonprofit, and it's interesting how you say Jose didn't want to be forgotten, to be Remember Me, and mine is Remember Me Always.
Yeah, yeah.
And mine's for a different cause, but mine's based on what had happened in my life.
Right.
It's interesting how something will put you in a path, as I mentioned earlier, and then it'll put you in another direction when something happens to you. It's kind of like that aha. And when we're doing these things, we're serving other people.
Right,
And
right.
you're doing it, like you said earlier, in a celebration in honor of Jose. May I ask why each of your children, what they passed away from?
Both of them died from neglect and abuse from their family of origin. So we used to call it our birth family, and now that correct terminology is our family of origin.
Okay.
And so just circumstances beyond their control.
Okay, so now we're going to go back to Russia.
So Russia,
on
4th of July in America, Russia.
So do tell me, how did you get involved?
Yeah, it's so crazy. So just was having this conversation with this acquaintance and said, you know, we're bringing these kiddos over with the hope of getting them adopted. These were kids that were in orphanages. And I mean orphanages that didn't have running water, that children had rickets. I had to look that up.
What's a ricket?
Rickets is when they don't get enough vitamin D. I thought it was like the thing the pirates had. I mean, I actually had to Google it because no kid in America has it.
Okay.
And really we're so at such disadvantage. And I just thought, great for the culture, right? Get to learn some Russian, get to meet other people. I love to immerse my children in other cultures. And I had those kids that were just hitting those puberty years where they were just becoming very selfish. And I need these jeans and I need these kinds of shoes. And I wanted to show my children that you live in a land of just so much. And I wanted them to get that perspective. And they did.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Because when we're kids, we always say, well, I want this.
Yes. Well, I need this.
Yes, I need, well, they've got it too.
Right.
Okay, well, I'm not quite sure if that's true that they got it, but I understand when you're wanting something because when you're a child, you figure that you ask for it, you get it.
Right, right.
You grow up and you find out that's not the case.
Yeah, it was selfish. I just thought, what a great way to just sort of help a little bit in the world where it didn't, you know, I didn't have to go anywhere. It didn't cost me anything. I thought it wouldn't cost me anything. It did. But that was my selfish self of like wanting to make a difference, but not a lot. Sure. I didn't want to be uncomfortable doing it. I just wanted to do this little bit. And the kids stayed for 6 to 8 weeks. They went back, and then the hope was you found them a family. And I did that for 13 kids. And
all at the same time?
No, one at a time. So these camps would go on mostly in the summer.
Okay.
So it was probably about 4 years we did 13 kids, but I started struggling of what did it look like for kids here? How was that impactful here? And I just kind of sat on that. You know, when an idea sparks and you just kind of shelf it, it's there, but it's, you know, it's quiet. And my youngest son turned 5 and went to school, and I wasn't carrying a diaper bag anymore. I had a real purse again. Freedom, you know, no sippy cups. And I was at this point in my life where it was just about to change. Was I going to go back to school? Was I going to really, you know, go into my career and really delve? I was just really at this point. And my son goes to school and he has his little backpack and he comes home with that pile of paper, right?
Sign here. This is what you have to do and know and remember.
And so I'm looking through this and there's just a little half sheet and it said, ever thought about being a foster parent? And literally it stopped. I looked up like, who's watching me?
To
yes,
you. It's me.
And picked up the phone and called and was so... You know, when you call in, if you have an interest in helping kids, the first thing is come down to the office. They're trying to gauge your interest level, right?
It's not an emotional moment.
Right. How committed are you? Excuse me. And then the next thing is after you do that first one, they say, come to this 6-week class. And I've never cried so much in my life. All the statistics about how Arizona has the 5th highest rates in the nation of kids in care. 20,000 kids.
That don't have homes.
That don't have homes.
Families.
Yeah. In the state of Arizona, a boy over the age of 6 is considered unadoptable.
Unadoptable?
6.
Why
little? Because people want girls.
Babies and
they want
girls.
little. Right. Kids
Everybody
of color are considered special needs.
Everybody deserves a place to call home and a family to say that I have something I belong to.
And how can you say a 6-year-old's a throwaway? I mean, this is a little tiny human, right? The same age as my son.
Yeah.
And so just the perfect storm. And then, of course, I went into it saying, I'll never adopt. I'm just going to be a foster mom. I really had this desire to love and walk alongside these birth families on helping them and getting their children back. This is a reunification state. So that's what's asked of that. You co-parent and get these kiddos home. And boy, that much harder. That love thy neighbor thing. Whew, that's hard stuff.
So the time frame of each child, was there a set time?
No, that's what's so hard is, you know, you could have a baby that stays hours. And I had my longest kiddo stayed 4.5 years, and then he went home to a mom who was clean and married, and it was a success for her. Those didn't come a lot, But when they did, oh, I just celebrated them.
So when you foster, my best friend, actually, you say orphanage is not really the term we use anymore. She was. Her babysitter, at the age of, I think she told me when she was 2.5, her mom had left her at the babysitter's. And that was it.
Wow.
And, to get put into a position, you're just a child.
Right.
And being, and I know her quite well, but to be bopped from place to place to place and not to feel like you have a sense of belonging. There's got to be, I don't want to say a consequence to that, but there's got to be something that's, I guess, depends on what homes you're being placed in, that's going to make you feel like you're loved or cared for as a person.
True, and I mean, we certainly know there's that small percentage of it, and that's what we hear on the news, those big sensational stories. But really, the average foster parent is 2.2 kids, lower to upper middle class, and they're just trying to do the right thing. That's your average. No big pizzazz, nothing very interesting. When we went big and started having more and more children, and as we got more and more experienced, we took more and more medical kids. So you were talking,
I was going to ask you, special needs, anything that they have.
Highly abused kids, I mean, kids in body cast, I mean, really tough cases. And it changed things because those kids weren't going home, right? Because those cases were so extreme.
Right.
And that's when that I'm never going to adopt thing came up.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes, there you go. Cue the music.
There's that string that gets pulled, and I completely understand as to why you would. So then you decided, no more. These kids are going to have a place that they can come every day home and say, you belong here.
I decided, my family decided that we would take the kids nobody else wanted. Like those were the throwaways, those were the leftovers.
Nothing like feeling rejected. And then we've got a lot of that in our life, but as a child, that is where, and I believe that we are a child 10% of our life.
Yes.
And in that 10% of our life is where we're being programmed to how we're going to become as an adult.
Right.
So it's so important.
Oh.
I love kids. I love kids. But
you want some?
No, but I know where to find some.
Right.
I definitely will bring a bag and stay here, and I'll help. I love, there's something about kids because of the innocence, and you can teach them the things that, I don't know, maybe because I missed out on some of my childhood the way I thought I would be, but what could you not love about a child?
Right.
And yes, they grow up to be adults, and then that's a whole different story.
That's a whole different thing.
So you decided you're going to start adopting them versus fostering them, so now you have 10 in your home right now.
Yep, 10 adopted, and really took those cases that there was nowhere to go.
Great kids, by the way, Matt.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank you.
yes.
So we took those kids and just did the best we could, but took a lot of kids that were so severe we knew that their lives would be shortened, and now I've done this twice and possibly will do it again. So it's definitely a hard journey.
And you realize also when you've given someone a sense of belonging somewhere, they're not going to tend to go somewhere else to say they feel are missing out on something.
So we're hoping.
Yeah.
I mean, the statistics, and I don't want to get too heavy in that, but what we know is if you talk to the penal system, if you talk to anybody in a prison system will talk to you, most of those kids, it's 70% have been touched by foster care.
Okay.
So we know there's a direct link. If we don't jump in and we don't help them when they're little people, we know they're going to become society's dregs, right? So where are we going to jump in? And for me, I'd much rather love on a child than incarcerate an adult.
Yeah. And there's so many different stories and different situations with parents and people, and you talk about incarceration. I've learned of some things. Yeah. We're so sheltered as individuals in a society that is so opinionated, whether it's about religion or politics. We really need to take a check on ourselves because there are things that we will not get exposed to. And like you and I share a tragedy of losing, you lost your 2 children and I lost my daughter, Nicole Marie. Yeah. And it's just one of those, it's changed my life and it's changed yours, but you've also changed these other children's lives because they don't have that tragedy anymore. You've given them a sense of belonging. I commend you.
Thank you.
That's a lot to take on top of running Jose's Closet. Jose's Closet is out in Apache Junction, Arizona.
Yep.
Okay.
All volunteer run organization, 13 years we've been doing it for Jose. And
the golden year.
Yeah. I think it's really true, though, if you don't love it, and look, this was selfish. This healed my heart. Had I not had this thing to put all of this hurt and anger and anguish, where would I be, right?
The grief.
So, I'm not a saint. I found something where I could survive it and come out the other side better and loving on people and helping kids. I mean, come on.
Well, you're saying
an
you were
easy
helping your
choice.
kids. Now you have Jose's Closet in honor and memory of Jose.
Right.
Which is really great because you're also now paying it forward to helping other families. And that's another serving. And,
Yeah.
and I think that's a great thing for you too. You had shared a story with me about Jose was what, 10 years old when he passed?
He was 10 years old when he passed. We got him. He came into foster care because he had a form of cancer that was highly treatable, but he was removed from the home because his protocol, if anyone's ever battled cancer, your protocol is very strict when your chemo treatments are and radiation and medications, and those were being disrupted by the chaos at home.
Okay.
And so a foster family, that was the requirement, is can you do all these hospital visits? Can you give the medication? Can you,
A big commitment.
Huge. I mean, I had no idea. And isn't that true of most hard things we do? We don't know,
Absolutely.
and maybe that's the blessing.
Absolutely.
But after all that, he didn't survive. And this little guy, I wish you could have met him, just had a spirit of a very old man, wise man, and just fought more than I ever thought a human could do, and had a glad heart, was never angry, was never upset, and just really was sad to go, but never angry at anyone.
And part of this Jose's Closet has something as far as Emma, your other child that passed
Yeah.
away. What is that entity in Jose's Closet?
So what we decided to do for Emma is Emma's Eats. Of course, I had to do something cute with her name, so just kept sitting on that. And I've really seen this big upsurge with the foster adoptive community, especially our grandparents that are reparenting.
Oh, I know.
Right? It's crazy.
Yes.
And they're on fixed incomes, and the ask kept coming into my shop, which deals with clothing and shoes and toys, food and toilet paper and shampoo and all these practical items that you need. And I just...
The daily essentials.
Yeah, and to have a parent choose between, do you buy diapers or do you buy food, right?
Yeah.
And it kept coming up, and we kept hearing it, and I just thought if I ever had time, but where your heart goes, your time and treasure goes, right?
Absolutely.
And so after we lost Emma, even before we lost her, sort of knowing this was happening, already my brain started ticking with it, and that helped me through losing her.
Yeah.
And Emma passed away by the abuse she suffered in her family of origin. So that was harder in a sense, I think, than Jose. So it's. I mean, we're still in the grief process, right? It's only been 6 months.
You will forever be in the grief process.
Yeah, true.
It's
true.
just not as
Crushing.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're doing something that's good in memory of them both, and I
Yeah.
love that. So that leads into the next part here. I love asking this question because a lot of people don't realize that they're leaving a legacy. They just say, "Oh, I'm just doing what I want, what my heart feels. I'm doing this." Like you said, you've talked about Jose's Closet and the adoption of all the children and the people that you've touched in your community and your family.
Sure.
When your last day is done here on Earth, you can call it a legacy, or you can just say, "This is what I want to be remembered for." What do you want to be remembered for?
Boy, that's a tough one.
See, everybody. I'm living my legacy every day that I'm doing what I'm doing.
I think what I would say, and this is what I want my children to know, is you just leave your little corner of the world better than you found it. And whether that be animals or children or writing or a poetry or painting, just leave it better than you found it. And if my kids were all here, they would go, "Oh, there, she says that all the time." But I do want that. I want everybody, if everybody just did a little bit, and I think people feel like they can't because you can't fix it all, and nobody can fix it all. But if we just do, right, just this little piece.
If everybody had that same attitude, we'd all be a little happier.
We'd be so much happier. And just real quickly, foster parents use the story about the starfish. Do you know that story? Yeah. A lot of foster parents love this story. It's the story goes, there's a dad and a little girl, and they're walking on a beach, and there's starfish everywhere, right? And this little person picks up a starfish and she throws it back in the ocean. And her dad says, "Honey, look at all of them, right? You can't do this. You can't save them all." And the little girl then says to her dad, "But Dad, I saved that one. It made a difference to that one." And so that's how I feel. Is you do what you can on your little corner that's yours.
I agree. Thank you, Wendy.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
Thank you, and I won't have to go to Russia to be influenced on doing something good. Oh, All right, well, there you have it. And if you weren't inspired by this, I would suggest going back and replaying this because I was touched by this and her Brady Bunch of a household and her farm that doesn't eat. All right, well, as I always say, come back because these just keep getting better and better. And until next time, you take care.